Alright, so a couple of things that you need to make note of over the next month and a half or so. The first thing is that your Excel capstone project, it's currently out in SimNet. That'll be due on July 31st by 11:59 p.m. I'm going to SimNet right now to make sure I think I put the start time at 8 o'clock this morning. The next thing is that your Excel final exam will be on August 1st. You'll have the whole day to do it. You'll have 60 minutes in class to take it, and then after class you can work on it. The next thing to note is that we'll begin Microsoft Access work on the 1st of August, and we'll be going over Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 on August 1st. The Access capstone project is due on August 29th by 11:59 p.m. and then the Access final will be taken on August 29th, and that'll also be due by 11:59 p.m. So if you go into SimNet now, the capstone project is out there. So you have until the 31st to complete that. Also, you will have a quiz for Chapter 7 today. I think I said that we were done after Chapter 6 with the quizzes, but with the way that this semester is going to go, we're going to do one less Microsoft Access chapter, which means one less Microsoft Access quiz. So we'll make that up by having Chapter 7 quiz. All right, today we're going to start. We're going to be working on Chapter 8. So you go to SimNet as normal, and the guided project should be out there. You should have two files to download, both required start file, you see that's required, and the instructions file required. Alright, my files generally go to the downloads folder, and there's the guided project, instructions, and the start file. Alright, so step 1, we've already opened it. We know that our file is in our name, and we need to get it out of protected mode by selecting Enable Editing. Alright, step 2, install Solver and Analysis Tool Pack. Step 2A says select the Options command in the File tab. So we need to go to File, Options. It says 2B says click Add-ins in the left pane. So that takes care of 2A and 2B. 2C says click Go near the bottom of the window. Select the Solver add-in box. Select the Analysis Tool Pack box. And then click OK. Three says click the workout plan worksheet tab and select cell E10. So I'm going to go to the workout plan worksheet tab, and it says go to E10. I know that I'm on E10 because the E column is highlighted and the 10 row is highlighted. Also, if you look in the name box, it says E10. 5 activities are included in this plan to burn calories for weight loss. This cell includes a sum formula. So if you while you're in cell E10, if you go up to the formula bar, you see that the sum function formula is in there. 4 says add scenarios in a worksheet. For a, click the what if analysis button. That's in the data tab. So we'll go to data, go to our forecast work group, and select what if, and we're going to select scenario manager. For B says click add. For C says type basic plan as the name, scenario name, so basic plan. Click the changing cells box, select cells D5 to D9 and click OK. Says select cells D5 down to D9. I think it got out of the basic plan. Let's try it again. D5 down to D9. Then it says click OK. Do not edit the scenario values and click OK. So it says do not edit that. We're just going to click OK. Click add again to add another scenario. This scenario will be called double. Type double as a keep the changing cells as is and click OK. For H says change the values to 2, 2, 4, 2, 2, doubling each current value in the scenarios value dialog box and click OK. So that matches up with figure 8-96. I'm going to click OK. So we have that, and we have that. And then it says click close. Alright, now is a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Alright. Step 5 says use solver to find a target calorie burn. Click the solver button, which is located in the data tab, the analyze group, and we're going to click solver. Select cell E10, the cell with a sum formula set for the set objective box. C says click the value of radio button and type 3500 in the entry box. So I'm selecting value of, and it tells me to put 3500 in here. 5D says click the by changing variable cells box and select cells D5 to D7. Solver finds how many times each activity should be performed to burn 3,500 calories subject to the constraints. So I'm I'm going to select that, and it tells me to select D5 to D7. Moving on to step 6, add constraints to a solver problem. Click Add to the right of the subject to the constraints box. So we'll click Add. Alright. Select cell D5 for, so we're going to select there, D5. Go to cell reference box. Then we're going to choose greater than or equal to as the operator. Click the constraint box and type 2. The constraint requires that the exercise be done at least twice a week. Click Add to add each of the 5 remaining constraints shown here. Actually, it tells me to do this one first. So we'll do D5 first. Less than or equal to 4. Add. Next one is D6. So let me mark these off as I do them. So we got D6. Less than or equal to 3. Add. Alright, we have another D6. Greater than or equal to 1. Next one is D7. And that one is less than or equal to 4. And then we have D7 is greater than or equal to 1. So that takes care of 6E. 6F says when all constraints are identified, click OK in the Add Constraint dialog box. Choose GRG nonlinear for the select a solving method. So down here we're going to select, so before you even select that, you look down in the solving method, it'll tell you what they do. So we're going to select GRG, and that takes care of 6G. 6H says confirm that the make unconstrained variables non-negative box is selected, figure 8-97. So we do have that selected, as you can see here, and everything lines up with what's in figure 8-97. And then it says click solve. A solution displays in the worksheet and the solver results dialog box is open. Go. Alright, so it did open. Move this over some more. Move this over some more too. Alright, 7 says save solver results as a scenario. So we're going to click the save scenario in the solver results box. So save scenario, and it says type 3500 burn as the scenario name. So that's 7A and 7B. 7C says click OK to return to the solver results dialog box. Click the restore original values button. So we're going to click the restore original value. So as you click between these, this tells you what each radio button does. Alright, so we're going to click restore originals, then we're going to select answer and report, and again you see down here what the reports are for. Alright, 7F says click OK. The generated report is inserted and the original values are restored in the worksheet. So I'm going to click OK. So you see that our numbers went back to the original numbers. Now is a good time to save. So I'm going to do a Control S. I can also click on the floppy disk, or I can go to File, Save. Alright, moving on to step 8. Actually, before I move on, let me move this over some more. Alright, moving on to step 8. Create a scenario summary sheet. Click the What If Analysis button. So to get to that, we go to our Data tab, our Forecast group, select Scenario Manager, click Summary. So that takes care of 8A and 8B. 8C says verify that the Scenario Summary button is selected. It is selected. 8D says click the Results Cells box, select cells D5 to D9, type a comma, and then select cell E10. So select Results, and it says select D5 to D9, type a comma, and then select cell E10. Click OK in the Scenario Summary dialog box. The report is generated in a new worksheet since the results cells are named. The range names appear in the report, figure 8-98. So let's click OK. Alright. So everything looks like it's lining up. That takes care of 8E. Now is a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Alright, moving on to step 9. Create a one variable data tab to calculate total calories if dinner calories are adjusted. 9A says click the calorie journal worksheet. And select cell I5. So I'm going to I5. The sum formula calculates total calories consumed per day. So we see in the formula bar that the sum formula or function is being used, and it tells you which cells are being summed. 9B says select cell E15. E15 for the data table must be one column to the right and one row above the first input. 9C says type equal cell I5 and then press enter. So it should give you the same value that's in cell I5. Alright, now it says select cells D15 to E23. So it says D15 all the way down to E23. And it says click the what if and choose data table. 9F says click the column input cell box and select cell G5. So I'm going to click the column input and I'm going to select cell G5. The input values will be substituted for the cell in the data table formula. And it says click OK. Alright, clicked OK. It populated all the data, and we can look at figure 8-99 to make sure everything lines up properly. Which it looks like it does. So that takes care of 9. Now is a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Alright, step 10 says create a 2-variable data table to calculate total calories if both lunch and dinner calories are adjusted. Select cell L15. Scroll over L15. So in here it says we're going to type equal cell I5 and I'm going to press enter. And again, it brings the value from I5, it brings it over to L15. Alright, then it says select L15 to T23. So we go to L15, we're all, well, L15, and we go all the way over to T23. Click the what if analysis, data tab, forecast group, let's select data table. Alright, 10E says select cell E5 for the row input cell box. Lunch calories are in the rows of this data table. So I'm going to click on my row input cell box. And then I'm going to go over to E5. Click the cell input, click the column input cell box and select G5. So now I'm going to select G5. Click OK to build the data table. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to scroll over here. And now I see that it did populate some data. And it says figure 8-100. Alright, so I'm just going to look at a few of the values. I'll look at this value 3550. That looks good. I'll go to the middle, 2650. That looks good. And I'll go down to 2750, and that looks good. So it looks like that's correct. We'll move on to step 11. Select cell J1 and insert a page break. So I'm going to go to J1. So I'm in J1. I know I'm in J1 because J is highlighted and the one row is highlighted, and also in the name box it tells me that I'm in J1. So I need to select a page break for this. I'm going to go to my page layout tab, page setup group. Alright, that takes care of step 11. Now is a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Let's go to Excel and save. Alright, moving on to step 12. Create a pivot table for dental insurance data. So I'm going to click on the dental insurance worksheet, dental insurance, and select cells A4 down to E35. I'm going to click on my quick analysis. Actually, it tells me to do it a different way, so I won't click on the quick analysis that pops up. It's gonna take me to the, it's gonna make me do a different way. So I'm gonna go to Insert, Tables Group, and I'm gonna select Recommended Tables. And I'm going to select sum of billed by service code. So that looks like, so that's the one. Label fields are in rows, arrow, area, and numeric fields are in the value. So we have that, and we have that. So that takes care of 12C. We're going to name this pivot table. It says name it Pivot Table 1. Alright, worksheet has been named to Pivot Table 1. Alright, it says point to build in the choose fields to add to report area and drag to the field name of the values. Alright, so I'm pointing to the build, and then it tells me to drag it to the values area, which it's already there. Yeah, it's already there. Looks like it's already. Let me try it again. Yeah, it's just put another one in there, so we're gonna remove that. Oh, it's supposed to be like that then. Let's move it down there. Alright. Alright, so we're going to move on to step 13A. Click sum of build in cell B3. So I'm going to click on B3 and click the field settings button, which is in Pivot Table Tools Analyze Active Field Group. So I'm going to click on Pivot Table Analyze tab, and it says Active Field Group. Alright, field settings. Takes care of 13A. 13B says type total build as the custom name. So we're going to type total build as a custom name. Click number format. Click number format and choose currency. Set 0 decimal places. And click OK 2 times. So 1, 2. Alright, so it should say total build in B3, and your numbers should now be in currency with 0 decimals. 13D says right click sum of build 2. So I'm going to do in cell C3 and select field settings. So this is showing you a different way to get to the field settings. So in custom name, we're going to type average build as the custom name. So it takes care of 13D and 13E. On the summarize values by tab, choose average as the function. So I have average here. Then I'm going to click on my number format button. I'm also going to change this to currency and set the decimal places to 0 and close the dialog box. So I'm going to click OK and click OK again. Now I have average. Let's see, let's get rid of that 2 there. So now if you look at your pivot table, it should look similar to this figure in 8-101. And we'll have to, now's a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S to save. Alright, so moving on to step 14, use pivot table tools to format the report. Click any cell in the pivot table, so we're already in the pivot table, and apply till pivot style medium. Now we'll go to, let's see if they do tell you how to get to it, or don't they? No, they don't, but you go to your design and go to the style. It's telling me till. Till pivot style medium 6. Alright, so there's an alternate, but we don't need to worry about the alternate. 14C says select the banded rows and banded columns boxes. You go to your pivot table tools design tab. So we're there. In the styles options, the pivot styles options, and then it says select banded. Yep, banded rows and banded columns. So it puts some lines, some borders in our rows and our columns. And then it says click the grands button and choose off for rows and columns. Off for rows and columns. So that gets rid of the grand totals. Alright, now is a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Alright, 15 says select cell A1 and type Courtyard Medical Dental Services. So I'm going to select A1 and type Courtyard Medical Dental Services. Type billings by service code in cell A2. So that takes care of 15 and 16. 17 says format both labels as 14 point. So we're going to select both A1 and A2. We're going to go to our home tab, our font group, and change the size to 14. Create a pivot chart. So we're going to move on to step 18. Select a cell in the pivot table and click pivot chart. So I'm in there. Alright, go to pivot table, tools, analyze tab. Go to the tools group and we're going to select pivot chart. 18B says choose column. We have column selected, and clustered column. So that's that. So if you select the one to the right of it, it says stock column, but we want to select clustered column as the subtype and click OK. So I'm going to click OK. So now I have my pivot chart. Now I need to drag the chart. I need to drag that to the top left corner in cell E3. So we're going to drag it to E3. So right there. Size the chart object to reach cell M24. So let me move over a little bit more. And I'm going to go over to column M and down to row 24. So that's large enough. 18E says click one of the average build columns and click the change chart type. That should be the average. Yeah, that's the average. So we're going to click one of these. Change chart type. So we go design. Change chart type. Alright. That takes care of 18E. 18D says click the chart type arrow for the average build. And choose line markers. Alright. So we're gonna use, it says select line with markers. Alright, so as you can see in our little preview, we compare with figure 8-102. You see that you have your lines set up correctly. That looks good. 18G says click OK. So now it changed it to make it a line instead of the columns. 18H says click one of the total build columns and change its shape field. So we're going to go to the pivot chart tools format and field, that's outline, shape field. Yep. And it wants me to select teal accent. Darker 25. Teal accent 5 darker. There it is. Alright, so that takes care of 18H. Now's a good time to save, so I'm going to do a Control S. Moving on to step 19, insert a slicer. Click any cell in the pivot table and click insert slicer. So we need to go back over to our pivot table and we need to go to our pivot table analyze tab and go to our filter group and select insert slicer. Before I click on insert slicer, just hover over it and you'll see what the slicer is used for. Alright, select the box, the insurance box, and click OK. So I'm going to select insurance and click OK. So now it puts a little slicer right below my table. So it says position the slicer so that the top left corner is in cell O3. So I need to move this over, keep going, to O3. And then I need to make sure that it's already on Q15. I'll just make it a little bit smaller. So it's going to O3 to Q15. So that looks good. Format the slicer with Aqua Slicer Style Dark 5. A lot of words there. So we go to Slicer tab, Slicer Styles, and we need to select the Aqua Slicer Style Light 5. And that's that one. Alright. We don't need to worry about the alternate. 19E says click the compudent in the slicer to filter the pivot table and pivot chart. So I'm going to click on comp. Click it again. Alright, so it just selected that. So as you can see, if you look at figure 8-103, you see that it's selected here. And then it says select A. A1. Alright. Alright, now's a good time to save. So do a Control S or click the floppy disk there, or go to File, Save. So one last thing before we move on to step 20. I want you to take a look as you select the different options in the slicer. You'll see that your values change in the pivot table, and it also changes in the pivot chart. So if I changed it to Westville, you see your chart changes and you see your values change. But for this, we need to go back to compudent, and you see that it changed, and you see your values changed. Alright, moving on to step 20, generate descriptive statistics for a rating category. Click the dental insurance sheet. Click the data analysis button, which is on the data tab in the analyze group. So we're going to do data analysis. 20C says select descriptive statistics and click OK. So I'm selecting descriptive. Actually, let me just click out of here. You got that selected. Now let's do it. Click OK. Select, for 20D it says select cells E4 to E35. So I'm going to select E4. Go all the way down to E35 for the input range. And then it says select the labels in the first row. So I'm going to click on labels in first row box. Moving on to 20F, select the output range button. Output range. 20G says click the output range box, and we're going to select G4. So this is where we're going to put all of that information. And then it says select the summary statistics, and then we're going to click OK. And then we need to auto fit column G. So to auto fit, we're gonna hover right between column G and column H. That should bring up the auto fit icon, which is a straight line with the two arrows pointing left and right. And then we're gonna double click. All right. And that should look like figure 8-104, which it does. Alright, now is a perfect time to save and close the workbook, because 21 tells us to. So we're going to save, and we're going to close. And then we're going to upload our project to SimNet. So go to downloads, select that. I look at the date and time. I always filter or always arrange my documents by date modified, and we look at today's date and the time. That's the file we want. We click OK. Yes, submit. And it looks like there's a few things that need to be corrected. Looks like some very minor things that need to be corrected, but we can correct those and then resubmit our assignment to be regraded. Alright, so it looks like 13. I'm going to summarize values by tab, choose average. Alright, so that takes care of average build, and then ITC PivotTable, format the slicer. I thought I did. Alright, so it looks like that corrected everything.